Let me ask you a question. Are you at war? I'm not talking about armed conflict or battles with guns and tanks. No, the war I'm referring to is the eternal struggle that defines the life of every man. It's the war within ourselves, the relentless fight to become the best versions of ourselves, to conquer our fears, our doubts, our weaknesses. This is the greatest war any of us will ever wage. As the ancient Spartan warrior King Leonidas once declared, a Spartan's true strength is the warrior next to him. Well, today I stand as your warrior brother, and we're going into the trenches together. You see, life doesn't give participation trophies. As Ralph Waldo Emerson wisely stated, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And within each of you burns the spirit of a conqueror, a force that can move mountains if you just unleash it. So let me be your battle commander today. I'm going to share weapons and strategies with you. Weapons of the mind, very ammunition that can help you win the war against your old self and anything holding you back from greatness. Motivation comes from motion, right? The first salvo we need to fire is understanding that motivation is not something you wait around for, as the old saying goes. The miracle isn't that I finished, it's that I had the courage to start. Motivation comes from taking that first step. Making that first positive decision and action. You see, your brain is a dynamically changing machine. Every thought you have, every action you take creates new neural pathways and connections, like a muscle. The more you use those pathways through positive habits and rituals, the stronger they become. This is why my meditation for manifesting from the future has gained such popularity. It leverages the neuroplasticity of the mind to literally rewire your brain. When you dedicate time to visualize and mentally rehearse the life you wish to lead and the person you aspire to be, you are actively fortifying those neural circuits. And guess what happens next? Your brain starts looking for evidence to support that new reality you've been imprinting through visualization. You start noticing opportunities you were blind to before. Things start lining up in that new positive direction. So my first order to you as your battle commander is this. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Create motivation from motion. Visualize your future success vividly every morning. Then go out and take one positive step, no matter how small. That action will create motivation, period. It's how the mind works based on neuroscience and quantum physics principles. The warrior accepts a challenge, not with fear and hesitation, but with indomitable courage. Of course, that first step is always the hardest because that's when the enemy, fear, rears its ugly head. Fear is every man's greatest foe, constantly trying to sabotage us through limiting beliefs, doubts, and inertia. But we have a powerful weapon against fear stored right in our brains. The neurochemical drivers that create willpower, determination, passion, and an unstoppable sense of purpose. You just have to know how to engage them. The first key is understanding that fear is simply a product of your thoughts, specifically thoughts about potential future pain and loss. And thoughts can be changed and molded. As Marcus Aurelius said, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. So when fear creeps in, when doubts start whispering in your ear, pause and shine a light on those thoughts. Analyze them objectively and realize most of your fears exist only as potentials within your mind, not reality. They're not facts, they're loud fiction, and you have the power to change the narrative. From there, envision what you truly want. Connect to your deepest motivations and stir up thoughts and images that ignite passion, ambition, determination inside you. Use memories of your past successes as fuel. Keep going until you can feel that neurochemical shift as those empowering mental and emotional states start building. The mind is truly that powerful based on neuroscience. Thoughts activate specific neural circuits that release precise neurochemical cocktails. Choose your thoughts, choose your state. Simple as that. As your personal drill instructor, I command you to build this skill. When fear strikes, don't just accept it. Strangle it out through mental rehearsal that overpowers it with resilience and purpose. Let those empowering neurochemicals surging through you show fear who's boss. You are hunters, not hunted. Act accordingly. Confront the brutal facts of your life, then confront the truth with an honest mirror. Speaking of honest mirrors, the battle can't be won by just fighting fear itself. You have to take stock of where you are now. the reality you've created for yourself with your past habits, beliefs, and choices. This is difficult because no one likes to admit faults or failures. But self-awareness and radical honesty are the scout snipers that clear the way for transformation. Make time for serious self-reflection and self-assessment. Look at your life, your finances, your body, your relationships, your habits, all of it, with a critical but fair eye. Where are you right now? What's working? What's not? What beliefs and behaviors actively hold you back? Write it all down. Leave no stone unturned in analyzing your current reality. From there, vividly imagine the man, the life you want to create. Get specific. What does success look like physically, financially, spiritually, in every facet of your existence? How does that future self walk, talk, carry himself? What has he accomplished? Visualize this future reality in rich detail. Now examine the gap between where you are now and where you want to go. That's the battleground. Ground zero for the hardest fight of your life. The reinvention of your identity. Because the truth is, your outer world can never exceed the state of your inner world. If you want new results, you have to become someone new on the deepest level. This may sound daunting, but it's remarkably empowering. You have the ability to consciously upgrade your human operating system through techniques like meditation, visualization, incantations, even specific physical practices that strengthen new neural circuits. Just like militaries use shock and awe strategies through overwhelming force and presence, you can create shockwaves of change in your life through sheer discipline, extreme focus, and immersion in the habits and identity of who you're becoming. So make your move, gentlemen. Honestly, assess your current reality, vividly define your future reality, and charge full force into that gap by living as your future self now. The shockwaves you create will demolish your old limits and habits. Shock and awe. Reinvention, pure and simple. The pain you feel is the pain of resistance. Surrender fully to the present moment and allow the changes to happen. I've given you marching orders for creating motivation through action, overpowering fear with precision biochemistry, and reinventing yourself through shock and awe immersion in your future identity. Now it's time for the piece de resistance, the secret weapon that will give you victory on the battlefield of life, mental rehearsal. You see, according to quantum physics principles, thoughts have a tangible energy, a frequency that impacts physical reality. Your brain processes an imagined experiences very close to the real thing. And where the mind leads, the body and the external world follows. The neuroscience backs this up. Mental rehearsal and visualization quite literally build new neural networks in your brain that correspond to the skills and qualities you've been visualizing. It's physical rewiring of your brain happening at a quantum level. So with the right mental training, you have the power to upload new capabilities and ways of being into your body and mind. It's like installing an advanced life software upgrade directly into your biocomputer. Just imagine uploading the confidence, charisma, and unwavering self-belief of your role models and heroes. Envision yourself responding to challenges with resolute certainty and calm instead of fear. Embed new habits of discipline and focus into your mind before you even started practicing them physically. Does this sound like science fiction? Well, I assure you it's not. We're living in the era of quantum mind science where we're just starting to understand the incredible powers of human consciousness. So from now on, I order you to spend time every morning in a peaceful, focused state, running a mental rehearsal of your greatest visions for yourself. Visualize every detail, how you look, sound, move, and react. Feel the positive emotions of being that future self, and embed it into your circuitry. With disciplined practice of this technique, you'll be installing new mental software into your biology that automatically prompts new behaviors, habits, and ways of being. Change on the deepest level possible. Pretty soon, the man you've been visualizing and feeling will simply become you. Game over for your old self. Face the present situation as it is, as you are, with unwavering integrity. All right, troops, you now have some of the most powerful weapons of science and spirituality at your disposal. You know how to spark motivation through action, neurochemically overpower fear and doubts, radically reinvent your identity, and mentally install new life software through visualization. But the enemy is never fully defeated until they're rooted out of every last hiding place and bad habit. You see, routines and habits are where the daily battle takes place. It's in the small disciplines and behaviors, those seemingly insignificant skirmishes, that determine the ultimate victory or defeat. So while you're working on the big identity overhaul through mental rehearsal, you must also wage the ground war by meticulously analyzing and then redesigning your daily habits. Here's your mission. Make a schedule that starts mapping out an idealized day in service of the greatest vision you have for your life. When do you wake up, go to sleep, exercise, work, relax? Map it all out in precise detail with no wasted time. From there, install rituals at key times to cue up the thoughts, emotions, and states you need. Morning and evening routines are crucial for starting and ending the day in psychological and spiritual shape. Figure out what habits and rituals will strengthen your focus. Energy, motivation, and presence at key moments. And be militant about following your design schedule and rituals to the letter. This is how you build indomitable self-discipline and integrity, the kind that allows high performers to thrive under immense pressure. With each habit reinforced, you're building a new identity one brick at a time. I'm talking about using this structured approach to redesign how you eat, sleep, exercise, work, think, spend your time. All of it gets overhauled, leaving zero room for the enemy, bad habits, and mediocrity to survive. This is total life architecture and optimization to the final detail. Remember, you're a warrior now, and warriors wage battles through self-imposed discipline, mastery over their minds and bodies. So make your habits stronger than any steel or weapon. When you've ruled your routines, you've ruled your life. Once the healing takes place, go out and create a phenomenon by using mind over matter. Gentlemen, you've been given the full arsenal for waging the greatest war any man can undertake. The battle for the full realization of your human potential. You know how to stoke motivation, face down fear, reinvent your identity, install new life patterning through mental rehearsal and habit reformation. You've got it all. But let me leave you with this. The final push, that excruciating last mile that separates the champions from those who fall just short. You see, this journey of utter self-mastery, of consciously evolving into your ultimate form, requires one thing above all else: relentless grit. This transformation will not be easy. In fact, it will be the hardest undertaking you ever attempt. There will be days when the mental, emotional, and physical fatigue sets in, where the temptation to fall back into old patterns is overwhelming. This is the ultimate test of your resolve as a warrior. That's why you have to find an unbreakable why, a core purpose and motivation driving you that's deeper than any words, a furious burning in your soul that gives you inhuman perseverance. Recreate and reconnect to that primordial fire within you constantly. Maybe it's the vision of providing abundantly for your family and being the man they need. Maybe it's seizing your legacy and doing something that impacts millions. Or maybe it's simply deciding that you're going to be the sovereign ruler of your circumstances and destiny, no longer a passive rider. Find that why that detonates your spirit into continuous forward momentum, no matter what. Remember, brothers, we're all in this together on the battlefield of life. You're never alone. Use your fellow warriors as motivation, inspiration, and support when you need it. Their commitment and progress on this path of transformation will shore up your own. Because that's what this is. Not just a personal crusade, but humanity's collective evolution. Don't let the gravity of comfortable mediocrity keep pulling us down. We are men forged to defy limits, to create greatness, to live lives metaphorically written in bold capitals. My final order is to wake up every single day prepared to give everything you have to reaching that next level of yourself. Unleash that uncontainable spirit of the conqueror within until it propels you over any obstacles and excuses. Keep driving on with that unstoppable will until you become the rarest and most powerful force in the universe, a masterful human being in full command of their mind, body, and destiny. That is your honorable quest. Make it your life's mission, and you'll know what it means to live like a true warrior. As your battle commander, I've given you the full arsenal to wage war against your old self and conquer the limits holding you back from greatness. Wield some of the most powerful weapons known to science and spirituality. You understand how to spark motivation on demand through action, not motivation. You've mastered overriding fear and doubts by purposefully shifting your neurochemistry. The blueprint for radically reinventing your identity through immersive future self-visualization is seared into your mind. And you've got a detailed game plan for redesigning your life through habit optimization. Those are the bombs and artillery to win this war. But as any great general knows, preparation and strategy mean nothing without boots on the ground, without elite soldiers ready to execute the mission flawlessly. That's where today's reinforcements come in. I'm about to draft the most dominant, fearless, unstoppable forces into your personal army. These are the special ops, the whispering winds of motivation and discipline that will keep propelling you forward no matter what. Let me introduce your new troops. First up, your commanding officer, who will be giving orders from the front lines at all times. The eternal why. This is the unbreakable purpose seared into your warrior soul that detonates forward momentum even when everything else fails. Maybe it's the vision of being the sovereign ruler of your reality, no longer a passive consumer. Maybe it's providing abundantly for your family as the leader they can rely on, or blazing a legacy that impacts millions. Whatever ignites that infinite pool of energy and motivation within you, that is your eternal why. When the grind gets tough and the finish line feels distant, your eternal why officer will be there barking orders to keep moving, to never surrender. It is the core purpose that erases excuses and fears. Nurture it daily through reconnection and meditation practices until it becomes an animating force unto itself. Next up are the body monks, an elite sect of mentally trained super soldiers who specialize in strengthening and programming the most powerful biological machine in existence, the human body. These are the ascetics who've mastered biochemical mind hacking through specific physical disciplines like breathwork, cold exposure, fasting regimens, and more. Through their practices, they've unlocked extraordinary levels of focus, willpower, self-mastery, and overall human potential. By inducting the body monks into your personal army, you'll receive access to the missing piece of the mental mastery puzzle. Yes, visualization and thought installation is powerful for upgrading your neural circuitry, but creating congruent physicality and cellular conditioning is a multiplier. You start breathing like a monk through specific patterns, your brain gets an oxygen and energizing neurotransmitter boost. By exposing yourself to environmental stressors like cold showers or extreme temperatures, you amplify metabolic performance and resilience on a cellular level. Structured fasting and eating protocols create advantageous gene expression and hormonal optimization. It's a full biological upgrade. The body monks will share these long-hidden secrets to help merge your mental training with physiological mastery. This unified regimen will leave you feeling like the most optimized, high-performance version of yourself. Of course, no army is complete without the wisdom and experience of aged warriors who've been through every battle imaginable. That's why you're also getting insight and mentorship from the wise warrior elders, living legends who've achieved mastery in life and can illuminate your path. Some are great spiritual teachers from religions and philosophies like Buddhism, Taoism, and Stoicism. Others are elite performers who've reached the absolute pinnacles of business, athletics, art, and more. But they all know the universal truths and principles of living an empowered life aligned with your highest self. The wise warrior elders will provide crucial context and wisdom to ensure you're battling for the noblest causes in the noblest ways. They'll keep you grounded in truth and your highest spiritual potential as you ascend. Last but not least, you'll have artistic reinforcements from the inspired artist poets. These beacons of human creativity and expressiveness will keep your fires of inspiration burning bright. You see, creative visualization isn't just a tactic for mental and physical self-mastery. It's also the oxygen supply that prevents your mission from becoming dull, repetitive, or joyless. Art and poetry keep you connected to the miracle of being gloriously alive as you pursue your greatest visions. By keeping these grounding forces close, you'll remember to see the beauty in your struggles. The metaphors and creative storytelling of the great poets will remind you that you're the hero on an archetypal journey of growth, adventure, and redemption. Not just a soldier, but an ascending God reforming himself through each challenge. Likewise, consuming the work of master painters, musicians, sculptors, and more will give you an appreciation for the poetry and art of the human experience itself. It's this childlike sense of wonder and awe that prevents your personal war from becoming a joyless slog. When discipline and focus get rigid, the inspired artist poets will be your secret weapons to stay creatively expressed and emotionally alive, savoring each powerful step of your transformational journey. Between the arsenals of mental tactics and this reinforcement squad, you possess the full power to conquer the war against your limitations. But let me be clear, none of these forces will do the work for you. You still must absorb the wisdom, follow the practices, and maintain that tenacious grit through every step. You are the soldier who must fight on the ground day by day. So fortify your mind, recommit to your deepest why, and call forth these powerful allies whenever you need them. Together you possess the capability for total victory in the unleashing of your highest human potential. Godspeed on this noble crusade, my brothers. And remember, the battle favors the most disciplined, trained, and committed warriors. Be those unstoppable forces of evolution, always pushing forward with passion and purpose until you conducting this great war for your ultimate self-actualization. You've been equipped with the full arsenal. Motivation rituals, fear-conquering biochemistry, future self mental uploading, habit mastery techniques, and an elite internal army to keep you charging forward. But even with this overwhelming firepower, I would be remiss as your battle commander if I didn't prepare you for the harshest truth about this lifelong campaign. The war has no defined end. You see, the pursuit of your highest human potential is an infinite game with forever moving goalposts. Just when you reach one summit of growth, your consciousness expands to reveal an even higher mountain looming ahead. This isn't meant to demoralize you, brothers. Quite the opposite. It's one of the greatest truths that gives this hero's journey its deepest nobility and meaning. You're not fighting for some static finish line, but rather constant renewal and reinvention, to keep shedding layers of your former self in a perpetual unfurling towards your greatest possible evolution. In many ancient wisdom traditions, this is known as the path of the warrior sage, embracing the paradox of the peaceful warrior who's always eager for the next challenge, the next self-imposed test of growth. The infinite loop of transcendence. At any given point, you are simultaneously the battle-hardened warrior who's conquered the previous sphere of limitation, and the wide-eyed student ready for the next lesson and level of mastery to be revealed. It's a beautiful, never-ending cycle of transformation, rebirth, and heroic growth. When you fully embrace this worldview, your life takes on profound dimensions. The present moment is always the ritual and ceremony of stepping into your most elevated self. Every decision and action is either aligning you with your aspirated identity or casting you back into your own confines. Each person you encounter, every synchronicity you experience is a message from the universe to keep transcending. From this perspective, even inevitable challenges like loss, betrayal, illness, or any form of suffering is simply the universe's way of applying forces to forge you into an indestructible diamond. The intense heat and pressure are shaping you into something stronger, more brilliant, more valuable. As the warrior sage walks this eternal path, they come to crave both the tests and the truths that greet them at every turn. The tests are what make them increasingly anti-fragile, unbreakable in spirit. And the truths are the wisdom jewels, earned that keep expanding their consciousness. This is how the greatest sages, mystics, and leaders throughout history walk the earth, constantly defeating themselves in a beautiful, infinite dance of transcendence and rebirth. So I have a new directive for you as my warriors today. Embrace your journey as an eternal path of ascension, not some linear race to a finish line. When you think you've arrived at a goal or achieved a certain capacity, don't rest on those laurels. Let that simply be a pass through the gateway to your next, more elevated vision and identity to step into. Always keep expanding. Always keep reinventing. Stay forever committed to the sanctity of your own transcendence through reinvention, because the day you stop is the day you fall back into the limitations you've shed. I'm the infinite reinventor, unleashing my highest human potential in a perpetual upward spiral of growth. Take that vow. Then wake up tomorrow with a new definition, a new vision for your most heroic, actualized self. And step into taking aligned action to become that new definition. Of course, committing to this eternal path of growth isn't just about the thrilling moments of leveling up and embodying your newest, most awesome self. As with any hero's journey, your path will take you into dark forests at times. Plateaus where progress stalls, pitfalls and chasms of slipped identity and squandered motivation. It's part of the inevitable cycle. It's in these moments, these shadowy valleys, that your commitment will be tested most. When you want to give up or default back to your limiting former self out of sheer inertia or doubt, which is precisely why the mindset of constant transcendence and rebirth is so crucial. To adopt as your default lens, it gives the priceless perspective to honor these stagnant periods as phases in the natural cycle rather than permanent failings. And more importantly, this mentality equips you with the wisdom and emotional resilience to not get derailed, but simply use these troughs as motivation and insight for your next reinvention. Maybe you hit a plateau in your professional growth and need to reassess your goals and plans, or find a new mentor to break you through your next ceiling. Or perhaps you fell off the wagon of healthy habits and need to revisit your rituals and conditioning practices from a refreshed identity of discipline. Whatever the case, the solution isn't to wallow or regress, but to embrace the plateau or pitfall as insight and initiation into your next bolder vision for yourself. Let the stagnation be the source of reinvigoration. As one of history's greatest reinventors, Benjamin Franklin, once wrote, When you're finished changing, you're finished. Living words of wisdom to etch into your warrior soul as a reminder to always keep evolving. So feel empowered to periodically restart your spiral of transcendence. Reinvent your vision for who you're becoming, redesign your identity, then charge forth into that new self with feverish obsession. Achieving a degree of mastery isn't the end goal. It's simply passing through a new outer ring on your heroic journey of infinite growth. When you fully embrace the path of constant transcendence, and reinvention is not just a mindset but a spiritual code to live by, you enter into a rare level of personal freedom and creative expression. You become the infinite artist, forging yourself as the ultimate work through disciplined self-authorship, sculpting the grandest masterpiece of all your conscious existence and heroic life experience. What a liberating sovereignty, to know you're not bound by any static limits, but are perpetually reborn and reinvented through your own consciousness, commitment, and craftsmanship. Gentlemen, I've laid out the paradigm shift required to walk the path of constant reinvention and transcendence, no longer being bound to finite goals or succumbing to plateaus, but embracing your journey as an infinite upward spiral of rebirthing into more elevated versions of yourself. Operate by the sovereign code of the transcendent warrior, someone who has chosen the heroic path of disciplined, never-ending self-creation through conscious evolution. But with this new philosophy comes an essential evolution in your manner of operation. You must ascend beyond just being a solitary warrior fighting for your own growth. The path will demand you master the art of the chameleon warrior. In nature, the chameleon is a marvel, able to adapt its color, texture, and behavior to any environment for maximized survival advantage. It's the ultimate manifestation of the core principle behind every species' success: adaptation. As transcendent warriors embarking on the infinite game of growth, you too must become masterful chameleons. Your spirit must be that of the immortal, ever-evolving, and highly adaptable version of the warrior. Because the truth is, on this journey of constant reinvention, your battlefield conditions will be forever changing. The challenges, environments, even the versions of yourself you're facing down will continually shift. 1 year, you may be waging war on self-doubt and lack of motivation, immersing yourself in motivational philosophies and neurohacking your mindset for resilience. The next could find you deep in nutrition and movement practices, optimizing your vessel for peak performance. Then you advance to mastering interpersonal dynamics, energy management, and influential leadership as your goals level up. Following that, you've transcended into exploring existential questions and spiritual truths just to crack open entire new dimensions of growth. Do you see the need for constant adaptation? Much like a chameleon, you can never become too rigid or overly reliant on any one skill, modality, or identity for long. You have to remain forever fluid and observant, able to blend and shift as your terrain inevitably morphs. The spirit becomes like water, teaching us to flow, to breathe, to yield with life force. This is your prime directive now as the chameleon warrior. On a practical level, this means you can never cling too tightly to any one dogmatic system, style, or even particular goal for too long. Those satisfying moments of identity are just temporary stations on your endless path. Instead of viewing the world through one specific lens or rigid methodology, you must adopt a context-driven philosophy, quickly being able to assess what approach is required, what modality or wisdom is needed to flow with and overcome this particular challenge. Then you immerse fully, extracting every ounce of value from that context before fluidity moving on once its usefulness hits. So one chapter might find you rigorously applying Navy SEAL level discipline and mental toughness tactics to conquer an identity shift you're struggling with. You embody those principles of intense ownership until you break through to your new desired capacity. But then a few years later, you may need to adopt the philosophies and practices of ancient Taoists, yogis, and Zen masters when facing more subtle existential questions that demand a softer, more graceful approach. Issues that aren't forcefully overcome but require a gentle yielding and return to natural presence. The path demands you resist no approach and stay endlessly adaptable. Not limited to one canon or gospel truth, just an eternal openness to the infinite wisdom of the ages and a dedication to graduating beyond attachment to any dogma when the context shifts. You must be shapeless, foremost, like water. When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Water can be drinkable, or it can erode, become like water. So what is the chameleon warrior's most vital asset in this metamorphic way of operating? one core skill that allows you to flow and adapt to any environment or context. Something I briefly mentioned before, but now need to equip you with a standard issue artillery. If you're going to thrive on this path, visualization, the ability to vividly visualize and then mentally inhabit potential future scenarios, identities, and context is perhaps your most lethal weapon, like operating a flight simulator. You can use mental rehearsal to upload and rapidly test drive new models of being before ever encountering the actual terrain. In the military, this is called reality rehearsing. Elite soldiers use immersive visualizations and virtual simulations to train their focus and condition themselves for peak performance under any circumstances. They get viscerally familiar with any operational environment before the first boot hits the ground. You'll apply the same mentality and preparation for every new context on your journey. Say you've identified abundant psychology and wealth mindset as your next milestone. Before ever studying any philosophies or teachers in that domain, you'll use visceral visualization to vividly experience scenarios of your future abundant self in action. With this priming, any wisdom you encounter in that new context will get automatically encoded and embodied much more rapidly without the interference of old mental patterns. Your environment adapts to your pre-programmed psyche and self-image, not the other way around. Likewise, if you're about to enter a challenging new career or lifestyle transition, use visualization to wargame potential obstacles and identity shifts required. Who do you need to be on the other side of those obstacles? Conjure the emotional state, certainty and capabilities of that future version of yourself, so when you arrive, it's an energetic match and seamless flow. The chameleon warrior develops a profound relationship with the malleable power of their mind, not getting attached to any frozen self-identity, but able to flex and shape-shift into any optimal form to achieve their objectives through mental rehearsal first. In this way, visualization becomes a supremely pragmatic utility for navigating every new battlefield and required identity on the infinite path. Not just manifesting tactics, but an essential skill of self-adaptation. So make visualization your loyal comrade in elusive camouflage, because the landscape is always shifting for the transcendent warrior. With these chameleon-like capabilities of fluid mental adaptation and context-driven metamorphosis, you enter into the most electrifying way of being and contribution, that of the viral visionary. All leading edge, explore and catalytic force in any environment you enter. See, when you perfect this shape-shifting warrior way, you essentially become an uplifting virus. Anytime you commit to embodying a new vision, you have the power to inspire mass adoption of that vision, simply through your decision to reinvent into that new paradigm of being. When you visualize and then fluidly step into abundant mindset, you accelerate that archetype through societal osmosis. The same when you level up your health, leadership influence, spiritual surrender, any domain you choose to transfigure and model becomes a virus others naturally catch. There's an incredible generative potency to operating in this way. You get to bring evolved levels of consciousness into reality through the sheer immutable decision to embody that new vision of human potential. And the chameleon warrior understands this cycle is a perpetual accelerating one. Each new paradigm USS and spread further catapults you into wider circles of influence. The virus proliferates faster and farther every iteration as your credibility grows. It's nothing short of becoming an upward metavirus, openly welcomed into every environment. Because people intrinsically sense your presence accelerates their own evolution merely by proximity. So in becoming fluent in the ways of the chameleon warrior, you unchain yourself from the confines of staying in anyone.